Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where sometimes you should just say nothing. This is Ballot.
And sometimes there's just nothing to say about some people. Let's hit this. I'm Patrick Gutfield, and after 2 people were murdered, President Trump decided the real story was about him. Trump posted on Truth Social that Rob Reiner's death was reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump Derangement Syndrome. Yes, a man was murdered, but Trump diagnosed the victim with being too obsessed with Donald Trump. When reporters asked if he stood by those comments, Trump doubled down. Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person. I thought he was very bad for our country. The man is dead, Donald. The backlash was immediate and came from Trump's own allies. Jenna Ellis, Trump's former lawyer, wrote, "This is not the appropriate response. This is a horrible example from Trump and should be condemned by everyone with any decency." Even Marjorie Taylor Greene said this is a family tragedy, not about politics. When you've lost Marjorie Taylor Greene on the civility question, you've really gone somewhere special. Representative Thomas Massey pointed out the hypocrisy. After Charlie Kirk's assassination, conservatives demanded civility and condemned anyone who spoke ill of the dead. Now, Trump's attacking a murder victim before the body's cold. Sage Steele, a Trump ally, called it so disappointing and said, "It's comments like this that take away from the countless great things Trump does for America." Although, at this point, we're running out of great things to subtract from. There's zero indication politics had anything to do with this tragedy. But Trump saw a Hollywood director who criticized him die and somehow made himself the victim. Senator Chuck Schumer summed it up. Trump knows no shame. But Trump wasn't done with Monday. He also filed a 33-page lawsuit seeking $10 billion from the BBC for a documentary they aired before the election. $10 billion! From the British Broadcasting Corporation. Trump's suing them in Florida, even though the deadline to sue in British courts expired over a year ago. The lawsuit claims the BBC defamed him by editing his January 6th speech in a way that was false, defamatory, deceptive, disparaging, inflammatory, and malicious. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office, "They actually put terrible words in my mouth I didn't say. And they're beautiful words that I said, right? They're beautiful words, talking about patriotism and all of the good things that I said." Beautiful words about January 6th, the day his supporters stormed the Capitol. Trump called his own words beautiful 3 times in 2 sentences, which is either confidence or a vocabulary issue. The BBC documentary spliced together quotes from Trump's speech that were delivered almost an hour apart, cutting out the part where Trump said he wanted supporters to demonstrate peacefully. The BBC apologized last month and called it an error of judgment. Their top executive and head of news both resigned. But apparently that wasn't enough. Trump wants $10 billion. That's roughly the entire annual budget of the 103-year-old BBC, which is funded by a license fee of £174 paid by British households. Legal experts are skeptical about the case since the documentary never aired in the United States. Trump's lawsuit argues Americans could watch it on BritBox, a streaming service. So Trump is suing a British broadcaster in Florida for a show that aired in Britain, claiming Americans might have watched it if they subscribed to a specific streaming platform. This is either 4-dimensional legal chess or just regular chess where someone's making up the rules as they go. The Trump administration says demolition of the White House East Wing must continue for classified national security reasons that they'll only explain to a judge in private. A preservation group is suing to stop the $300 million ballroom project, arguing no president can legally tear down parts of the White House without review or public comment. The Secret Service claims even a temporary construction pause would hamper their protective mission, while final ballroom plans remain unfinalized despite ongoing demolition. Above-ground construction won't start until April 2026 at the earliest, but the administration insists the below-ground work is too critical to stop and too classified to explain. So the Trump administration is defending its White House ballroom construction project in court, and their main argument is essentially, trust us, it's for national security, but we can't tell you why. The National Trust for Historic Preservation filed a lawsuit to halt the project, and the government's response is a 36-page document that boils down to, "We have very important secret reasons, and we'll whisper them to the judge when nobody's looking." The Secret Service submitted a declaration saying more work is needed to meet their safety and security requirements. What are those requirements? Classified. Why are they classified? Also classified. Can you give us any details? Sure, in a private meeting with the judge where the plaintiffs aren't allowed. Nothing suspicious about that at all. Here's what we do know. Trump had the East Wing demolished in October to make room for an estimated $300 million, 90,000 square foot ballroom that can hold about 1,000 people. That's roughly twice the size of the current White House. And yes, the East Wing sat atop an emergency operations bunker for the president, but apparently we needed that space for a really big party room instead. The administration's filing reveals that final plans for the ballroom haven't even been finalized yet, despite the fact that they're actively tearing things apart. Below ground work continues, foundations are set to begin in January, and above ground construction won't start until April 2026 at the earliest. So they're demolishing first and asking questions never. The National Trust's lawsuit makes a pretty straightforward point. No president is legally allowed to tear down portions of the White House without any review whatsoever. They argue the plans should have been submitted to the National Capital Planning Commission, the Commission of Fine Arts, and Congress before any action was taken. The trust even wrote to these entities in October after demolition began. They received exactly 0 responses. The administration's defense is that the president has the authority to modify the White House, citing the extensive history of changes over the past 200 years. They also claim the demolition concerns are moot because you can't undemolish a building, which is technically true but feels like saying you can't unmurder someone. The Secret Service declaration insists that even a temporary halt to construction would hamper their ability to fulfill their protective mission. Again, no specifics on how a construction pause would endanger the president, but surely it's completely unrelated to Trump wanting his ballroom finished before his term ends. Portions of today's show were made with the help of AI.